Hello, everyone. We talked to AJ, but now I got another guy I want you to talk to, or he talked to you, matter of fact. His name is Bob Fell, and he actually fell into my lap. He's my neighbor, and I told him I needed some landscaping done, so he came out here and started giving me ideas. What I didn't know is he's a landscaping engineer, but I'll let him talk more about what he actually does. I make up titles for people, so I should probably get them right. Bob, come on in. Meet our folks here. Now, this is Bob, everyone, and Bob knows I'm trying to be a cowboy and a farmer, so he's been giving me some tricks and tips and tricks on the tractor. But he's also a neighbor of mine, and has become a good friend. But he's in the landscaping business, and his business is called Escapes Landscaping and Nursery. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Hey, so you came up with all these great ideas, and you got this great eye for landscaping, and you know that I'm putting up a cross and I want to have a little sanctuary so I can have my peace time. Where do you get this vision for? Were you just born with it, or?
I just love doing it, so I do always have a vision, but it's your house. In the end, I have to talk to you first to get the vision that you have before I start having my vision. So I can always give it my vision, but without talking to the customer first.
Better talk to me first. No.
There we go.
But anyway, here's the great thing. Not only is he great at what he does, he has, again, to me, customer service is a big deal. It's very important to have a graceful and presence and have integrity. And he's got all of that and more. But what should people know when they're talking to a landscaper that they hire? Because you've been in this business how long?
Oh, since I was 15, so.
And what are you, like 85 now?
Yeah, about so about 40, getting close to 40 years of it.
Yeah, 40 years. So
yes.
You've obviously grown throughout the years. Have you ever really, when you first started out, have you made a lot of failures?
Yeah, well.
Or discoveries? We'll call them
a lot of discoveries, a lot of things we were doing 40 years ago that made things harder, and learning different plants that we were using 40 years ago aren't good plants anymore because of different sprays and different things that have come in to play here in Florida. So
talking about sprays, you're all natural. You don't like to use chemicals. Is that correct?
Correct, as much as possible. I wish it was possible to completely do without the poisons, but if you stay vigilant with your non-toxic sprays, you can stay away from using the poisons quite a bit. I like dish soap or Murphy's oil soap mixed with water if you're using that every couple of weeks or once a month.
So not only your furniture, but your plants could have a great shine.
That's exactly right. That shine is healthy.
So
and soil, I'll tell you what I do want to tell everybody is soil is something.
Come on over this way, Bob.
When you want to start talking to people about their landscaping, and you want to know if you've got a good landscaper or not, and he's not talking to you about what kind of soil you have and the pH factor, they're really not looking at the most important thing about your plants. So it's really hard for plants to thrive. It's hard for acidic plants to live in alkaline plants, and it's hard for alkaline plants to live in acidic soil.
So let's talk about that, because a lot of people go out and get landscapers, and a lot of people claim to be landscapers.
There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And
then when they get done, you're like, well, shoot, my kid could have done that. So if you're interviewing a landscaper, what are the things, the key points you should look out for? What are the questions that you should be asking as a customer, and the landscaper should be asking you?
Well, what I've learned now is if other than, at first, find out what plants you like. But if the landscaper is not voluntarily coming up with the plants that you should be using, and they're taking you to the nursery and just say, pick out whatever you want, you're called a landscaper because you don't know. Mm-hmm. So if they're telling you, pick out your stuff or just pick out whatever's pretty and you think we should plant, that's kind of a big mark against them in my book, because now you're responsible for what plants you picked out when the problems come up.
Yeah, you did that to me.
So if they don't have an idea of what plants you should be using.
Listen, I bought a bunch of plants and I put them in a circle. And the first thing he looked at me is went, all those plants gotta go, because they would have overgrown and overtaken the area for what the idea was. You know, these flies, I'll tell you, that's the only thing I got to get used to on a farm. It's flies. How do you deal with it all day? But he looked at it and he said, remove every one of them. I'll pick the plants out.
Short sleeves?
Long sleeves. Ex-Northeasterner, true Floridian. But this heat is just a breeze for him. But anyway, I was glad that he was honest with me, because he could have just thrown those plants in, made the money, and ran. But he actually said, no, these are going to overgrow, they're going to overtake, and it's not the proper plants for you. Where most people, once again, if you bought it for $50, they'll plant it for $50. You bought it for $25, they'll plant it. Am I correct on that?
That's about right, yeah.
So let them buy the plants, because they'll probably get a better price. Would you agree on that?
Yes, we go buy our plants wholesale. So then you'll actually make, it'll cost you less money if we buy the plants, because we go buy them wholesale and then charge the same price. And if you bought them, now I've got to charge a larger, you bought them retail, and then I've still got to charge the same price.
So if I'm hiring a landscaper and the landscaper is buying their stuff at Home Depot, you probably ended up paying a lot more, and you're probably not going to get as quality than when the landscaper should be picking them out and getting them.
I don't want to put down their quality at
No, Home Depot's great.
I go to the same nurseries that are supplying Home Depot. I have the option to go to that same nursery, so I can buy the same plant at Home Depot. Right. Maybe not as cheap as Home Depot buys it, but I'm not marking up to retail.
What we're saying is, we're not just picking out, Home Depot is a great store. And you know what? We're just saying, if you're buying them at a department store, whether it be Walmart, whether it be any, the supermarket has a little nursery outside. You can get little plants for your herb garden or whatever, but if you're looking to do really good landscaping, you have to talk to a landscape professional, so that they can tell you exactly what's going to thrive in your area and what's not going to be poisonous to you and your kids or your animals, because that's the first thing you said. You wiped those names right out of your head. You don't even think of those plants because you know the harm they can do.
Yes, because you don't know what you're looking at, and you might forget 2 or 3 years from now and be burning something that's going to be noxious.
I forget what happened 5 minutes ago, so that's what happens when you get a little bit older. I look smart, but man, I'll tell you, I remember things from long ago. I can tell you what you told me when you first came here, but I can't tell you what you told me about 15, 20 minutes ago. Because your mind gets so preoccupied. But once I given Bob the job, I sit back and I let him do his things. Now, sometimes I'll come out here and be a little dweeb and tell him, hey, what about this? What about this? And he's just like, sit back and be amazed. Although he listens, so I got to give him that credit.
Ask lots of questions. Love an informed customer. The more you know, the more you'll know how good of a job I do.
Well, I'm a why guy. I'm like a little kid. Why? And why not? Why not?
If your landscaper doesn't have an answer to why, he's run away and find a new one.
Yeah, run away. So you've been doing it 45 years. You love what you do, obviously, and you've really enlightened me a lot of what my plans were to make my place look nice, inexpensive, but yet look like I spent $1 million, and yes. I didn't. But and the plants that you're putting in are very easy to care for.
Yes.
Non-toxic, and I don't have to use the toxic brands. What is your true title growing up? Is it an architect, landscaping architect?
Well, I'm 150%. I've got 3 hats to wear. So the artist has to come out and have the vision. The horticulturist has to come out and say what plants are going to be used and how those plants are going to perform over the next 10 to 15, 20 years. And then the engineer has to come out for the hardscapes, of course, for anything and how the water's flowing through the property. So the engineer has to be out here, the artist has to be here, and the horticulturist has to be here.
Believe it or not, I didn't even think about the way the water runs, because I'm like, hey, plant them up high, put them on mounts. He's like, yeah, but then you're gonna lose all the water because they're just gonna roll downhill. So we're gonna do this a little bit differently. So once again, we think we know how to plant, but when you leave it to the professionals, like I said, you can have little home projects. Please, why not? It's always fun to play something here and there. But leave it up to a professional, and they'll give you better advice. But make sure they are a professional. Look them up. get a couple quotes. What other suggestions would you have for our people?
Go look at something they did 10 years ago. If you're looking at everything that they did in the last year or 2 years, that can always look pretty good. It's 3 to 5 years before the real landscape starts showing up, and the bad landscapers, their jobs are getting pulled out, and the real landscapers are coming in, and a lot of people, 80%, are landscaping their house twice because their first landscaper came in and didn't do something that was going to last.
Wow, what a great tip is go out and see. You know, I never thought about that because we do that for some work that we want. Now we just look at reviews. Anybody can write a review. I can write a review about myself. But what you want to do is go see it for yourself. Don't always trust what you see online because it could be enhanced. It could be brushed. It could look like you've done that. You've been and you saw nice hotels, but when you got there, it was a roach motel. I mean, the pool looked like it was enormous, but it was the size of a bathtub. So never trust everything you see, but go see for yourself and get an idea of what's going on. Bob, it was a great pleasure. Any last words you want to give? I know you just did, but any advice? What's the best plant to plant no matter where you live?
Well, I think what I've come to in the last few years is the Trinette Schefflera. I really like them. The bugs don't like them. They do rather well in our alkaline soils here compared to a lot of other tropical looking plants. So I think the Trinette is like my backup plant to give brightness and be that base that I work off of with the other plants that we plant.
And what good YouTube stations could people go on to see home remedies to take care of their plants in this final conversation of ours?
Oh golly, if you can find the old guy that used to be on PBS,
Mr. Rogers?
No. Yeah, I don't think he did the plants.
I'm gonna plant in your neighborhood.
Mr. Green Jeans.
I'm gonna plant in your neighborhood. No, but there are many people. Baker?
Jerry Baker. If you can find any, he's got a lot of books. He was very highly published, and he did a lot of videos for PBS when they would be trying to gather money. So if you can find any old Jerry Baker videos where he's mixing beer and milk and dish soap and all kinds of different things.
Not toothpaste, not the chemically stuff base. He was mixing natural stuff.
He was mixing natural stuff that's in your cupboard at home. There's
yeah, because right now they got a lot of YouTubes stuff where you can infuse plants together. How did they say that? Modify?
Yes, the GMOs, the genetically modified.
Yeah,
organisms.
The GMOs, genetically modified. I don't speak English. Yep. But anyway, Bob, we thank you. Your company's called Escapes Landscaping and Nursery. We thank you for your expertise and for setting me with some knowledge and wisdom. You didn't tell me I was stupid. You didn't tell me I was dumb. You just educated me, and I appreciate that. And I appreciate all that you do. So thanks for being on the show today.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So as you can see, Bob has a lot of experience, and he gave us some tips on landscaping, which I need a lot of, which I thought I knew what to do. You get a shovel, dig a hole, throw the plant in it, and water it. That's not true. There's a little bit more to it, especially when you're setting up a big landscaping job, because once again, you don't want the plants to overtake to the point where you can't even walk in it and enjoy it, or enjoy the plants that you did put into it. But anyway, I hope you had some fun today with our guest, Bob, and we had AJ, and you got a little tour of my new farm and my new cowboy starter kit here. But I like to, and I hopefully will bring you some more fun stuff on the sheep that we get, and the chickens, and all the great stuff that we're doing with it. And you don't need a farm to do some of these things. What you need is patience, time, and relaxation, because gardening is something that really relaxes. It gives you time to think, get away from a lot of the craziness, get away from that TV, and start doing something more productive than hearing the same story over and over and over and over, just like I'm doing right now, annoying you over and over. See, it gets annoying after a while. Anyway, thanks for being on today, and as always, stay tuned to the Giulio Show. And today we're generically just going around with the iPhone recording instead of the studio, which I think is a lot more fun. We'll see you next time on our future show. Thanks, and God bless.